Hey guys, this is Matt for hydroponics.com, and today we're going to be talking about trellis netting and trellis netting techniques. So first up, we'll talk about the differences in trellis net. You're going to find the main difference is usually the material. So this is a harder plastic. This is a soft nylon. Soft nylon can get a little stickier over the course of the flower run, maybe grab a little bit more from your actual product, versus the hard plastic seems to do a little bit less of that. The other main difference is going to be the shape of the square. The nylon comes in as small as a 3.5 size square, which a lot of people can't find in the hard plastic. And then the hard plastic is traditionally around a 6-inch square, so quite a bit bigger. The nylon can be really good for training plants, and then you could also use the bigger squares later on for the upper support systems. But there's two main ways of using trellis net that we'll talk about, as a support system and as a training tool. So first, as a support system, if you're running an automated water system, a large garden, a hydroponic system, things where you don't have the ability to stick stakes into medium, a small Rockwell cube or some Hydroton, you really can't stick very many stakes in there at all. It doesn't give you much support. So you're going to need some other kind of support for these plants. That's where you'll see a lot of netting in that scenario. You may need to build a support system. People use PVC, it's very cheap, very easy. Build a freestanding frame around your system and then stretch the net over that frame. People also will just use 4 posts in the corner of their rooms and then attach the net to those 4 posts and stretch it really tight. That's another way to get it up there, but you kind of got to be a little ingenuitive, adapt to the scenario that you're working with, and get that net strung up real nice and tight. The first one we'll talk about to use it as support system. So get that net strung up, and then usually if you're using it as support, you're going to put it on late in the veg, right before you flip into flower, and let those plants basically stretch up into the first net. Maybe we'll add a secondary net within the next couple weeks, and as they stretch into that second and third week, we'll have 2 sets of net that kind of lock them in place. As they get heavy with flowers, they won't be able to flop all over the place. They'll be locked into those 2 or maybe even 3 nets. And we're not really doing any training. We're just letting that net be the support system for the plant. The other way to use trellis netting, which you'll see a lot of, is to use it for spreading out your plants and what we call training your plants. So if I put my net over my plant, and instead of letting the branches just come through, I actually weave those branches through those squares, spreading that plant out left to right, north to south, however you want to look at it, getting that plant as big as possible, filling that net up. It will extend your veg time, but ideally if your light covers a 4x4 area, you put a grid of a trellis net in that 4x4 area, fill up every single square in that 4x4 area before you flower. That's one of the most efficient ways to use a light that you can think of. It's going to up your yield, it's going to up your efficiency, and it will up your veg time. So it's a give and take there. With that training system, you're usually going to use the lower net to spread your plant out and train it, and you're going to use usually 1 or maybe 2 more nets as you go into flower to support those branches as they come out of that first net and start to stretch up into their secondary nets. It's a great way to up your yield, a great way to support plants, a great way to train plants. Harvest can be a little tricky. There's not a lot of different techniques for that. Cutting the net right out, trying to lift the net right off the top, even taking the whole system of nets and flipping the whole thing upside down. You're kind of, once again, going to have to be a little ingenuitive with that. But it makes up for it when it comes to being able to grow a really healthy large plant that's completely supported. Particularly if you're running a hydro system, you'll understand how hard it is to do that any other way. So definitely look into trellis netting. They also call it SCROGing or SCROG netting. There's a really lot of different ways to do this, support them, different methods to think about, and how they apply to you. We sell an array of different brands and also different shapes and size squares, as well as different materials on our website. Come check us out at fullhydroponics.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.